Anybody here today? Mm-mm-mm. This is Jax West. I run Stephen Avery Project, MAM Gossip, Justice with Jax. And I was trying to decide what I was doing today because I slugged around all morning. Um, and I'm like, I'll pop on and see if there's anything anybody would like to talk about. If we don't have anybody on in, let's see, it's a quarter to 2 p.m. my time right now. So in the next 15 minutes, if we don't have people, then I will just end this video because I didn't give anybody any warning that I was going to come on. Maybe I could schedule something for tonight instead. I don't know. So I thought I would just pop on. I know there's been some gossip or drama or whatever you want to call it. And we've had some trolls enter gossip in the last couple of days. And so people have posted negative things about me. I have been messaged threats and vulgar language. Like, that stuff's really going to bother me. Um, so if anybody would like to question, I always say I'm an open book. So you got any questions for me? Fire away. If it's about gossip, if it's not about the gossip, if there's anything you just wanted to talk about the case or any other cases, come at me, bro. See, there's only 4 people on currently. And no questions. You cannot use this option once live. Interesting. Sorry. I'm always I don't go on live that much currently on Facebook Live, and I know I've talked about this before, but they've changed the whole thing about it. So still playing around with that. But I don't see, 10 people on now. Let's go. What questions you guys got? What do you want to talk about? I'm sitting here. I'm right here. I'm waiting. Hello, Miley. Yeah, I debated on whether I would go live outside or in my little office here, but I'm inside right now. Jennifer, the deadline is still the same. So what is that, the 29th? I believe it's the 29th still is the deadline. All it was this week is that the state, you're limited to how many words you can use in a filing. And so the state was just asking for more words, which Kathleen has done. It's a pretty typical thing. It's not a big deal. And so the date did not change on when the state's response is due. So it is still, I believe, May 29th. Um, let me go to Stephen Avery Project. I know Lynn posted the screenshot of it, and I am so bad at remembering numbers. So, what the heck is that noise outside? Why is this in Stephen Avery Project too? I don't want it on Stephen Avery Project. I'm still trying to scroll on here. All right, let me click on her picture. Yeah, 529. So, Jennifer says, wasn't sure with the word extension if the date was changed to give them more time to make more stuff up in the words. Yeah. Yeah. So, according to there's here, well, no. On their on the screenshot, it has pending, anticipated due date 5/29/2020, activity brief of respondents. So yeah, so it's still remaining May 29th. So 9 days from now. Woo! I could do that math. Dano says, "What's the?" Sorry, I'm not understanding what that word is. I guess I'm not hip enough to know what that stands for, or is it a typo? And thank you, Jillian. Yes, it's due May 29th. So, and then we here at Stephen Avery Project, we typically get the filings the day it comes out. So when it comes out, I will go live on Stephen Avery Project, and then we will read through it and we'll get it posted. And I have to figure out why is that up on there. I didn't want it to go on there. Can I? And well, whatever. No other questions or anything right now. So yeah, we're just in the holding pattern for Stephen for this state's response. And then the court will have X amount to respond and blah, 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 blah. It's always just a constant back and forth. For those of you that follow any of the other cases that I advocate for, today is Kent Pellegrini's 50th birthday. So happy birthday to Kent. His Facebook page is Justice, the number 4, Justice for Kent. And I have a thread on that page for people to wish him a happy birthday. And somebody is going to be from his friends and family will be talking to him today, and they will read to him all of your messages. So if you go to the Justice for Kent webpage or Facebook page and leave a message for Kent, it'll get read to him on his he's 50 birthday. Stano says, crack. Sorry, it's a Belfast word for what's happening. What's the gossip? Well, if you saw what I posted recently, let me pull this out. So, this is pretty bird outside my window. Sorry, squirrel. Well, not squirrel, bird. Bright red. I can't remember what it's called, but oh my god, it's a beautiful bird. So somebody filed a Freedom of Information Act to get Stephen Avery's visitor log, and they sent it to me. So this visitor's log went from, what were the dates? Because here's the visitor log. 70 something pages that I printed out and then color coded them by each person as they visited. So it started at, what is the date on here? July 20th, 2010. And it says it goes to, March 11th, 2020. But then this was actually, printed done April 20th, so because visits stopped due to the virus. So it goes through April 20th of this year, so a month ago. So these are all the visits to Brendan. Did I say Stephen before? I might have said Stephen. This is Brendan's visitors list. This is something that I was always curious about, because we have people that act like that they are these diehard family members that all they care about are them, and this clearly proves that not to be true. When you see the totals that some of them went there. And I know people want to say that or she's come up with excuses for why she wasn't there, and now they're also going to have Brendan write a letter and lie and say that he asked her to come off the list so he could have his brothers on instead, which his brothers Bobby's only been there 21 times, and Brian 11 times, and Blaine 22 times in 10 years. So you hardly have to keep space on a visitors list open for them when um, they're going, so little. But that's a nice try. And I also know for a fact from when I talked to Brendan on why the person wasn't on the visitors list. People forget I used to talk to Brendan and Steven. I don't any longer because these same people have told Brendan and Steven lies about me, and they just listen to that. I fault Steven for that because he knows better. Brendan, I mean, he believes in his mom, who is covering for the real killers. So, what can you do there? So, but and then I've been accused that I like faked it or whatever, and this is it's the actual log. Like I said, 71 pages of it. So there you have it. This person has tried to do so much damage to me over the years. I know she likes to play the victim, like I'm the one, oh, I'm hurting her. I mean, the lengths that woman has gone to try and take me out because she's also jealous because of Stephen Avery Project being the biggest Stephen Avery support page. I mean, gone so far as to contact my state's attorney, has contacted my local police department, has gone after my boyfriend's business. I mean, has called the police on me for trespassing. All I do is show you the truth and the facts here. All right, here. And the people that gave me Brendan's is they are working on getting Steven's. So we'll take a look on all these people who, care about them so much and support them so much on how little they go and visit. Let me scroll through your comments. Jocelyn says, happy birthday, Kent. Wish I could send him a birthday card. Well, you still can, even if it's going to get there late, because the mail at the prison is always so screwy. So a good wish is always welcome. Dano says, yeah, wanted to ask, who is Rhonda, who had a little rant on the visit log post? What's her problem? Well, because Carla sends her little minions into here to defend her honor. And so these are people who just think because somebody is an Avery, it means that they are like saints and everything they say is to be believed, when really it's the exact opposite. And so it's funny to me where, this group, MAM Gossip, I started this group. And you think you're going to come into my group and talk shit about me and you're still going to be here? No. And I have come to the realization over these years, you don't feed the trolls. Sometimes I do, because sometimes it's fun. It's, because they're stupid. So sometimes it's fun to poke at them. But at the most, for the most part, it's just easy to ignore because they obviously don't deal in facts in the real world. So it's pointless. So like I had somebody message me yesterday, I think it was. And so she then tells me that she's the reason why Steven no longer talks to me. And she said it's because she took a screenshot of a post I made in Gossip where I'm asking people for money to go visit Steven. And so that's why Steven doesn't talk to me any longer, because he didn't want me making money off of his name. Which is such a bunch of bullshit on so many levels. Now, I completely believe Stephen could have said that to her when she sent her little screenshot. Um, but I have never asked people for money. People have offered because of how the Avery family is always getting gas cards for their visits. And so then there were people that asked if they could donate for towards my gas. So I did make a post a couple times. I've made a post when I used to visit Stephen, and then I've made posts on when I have visited Melissa and Marnie. And people would give money for the gas, and then also money would be used for what I would pay for their food. Trust me. I mean, I can't even tell you how little money came in. I have never asked for money. So that is her twisting the facts, just like a good Avery does. Twist the facts to try and make something look like it's not. And it's really funny too, because Sandra, another person who uses Stephen's case for her own benefit, she made this grand post of doing a haha. Stephen told me to post that he has removed Jax from the visitors list because he was posting bad things about his mom, which is more people telling Stephen lies about me and twisting the facts. Because what it was is the family had reported that Dolores's refrigerator was broken and she needed a refrigerator, and they were taking donations to get her a refrigerator. And what I had said is never, 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 never give money to Carla, Chuck, or Earl. If you want money to get to Dolores, send it either directly to Dolores or send it to Kathleen Zellner and tell Kathleen this money is to go to Dolores. The rest of those people cannot be trusted. Per Stephen in my conversations with him, that he didn't trust Carla at all and knew she was stealing his money. Same thing with Brendan. Brendan used to say Carla was stealing his money. I actually have a letter of Brendan saying that Carla stole his money. But now they're going to have Brendan write a letter and for Brendan to say that he asked Carla to go off the list so he could put his brothers on. Sorry, it can't be believed, because I know Barb tells Brendan what to write in letters and he writes it. So, and I also just know reasons why Carla was removed from Brendan's list during Making a Murderer time. Prior to that, it's because she just didn't care about him. Ask Brendan. Well, you can't ask Brendan because now he's been snowed the other way. Natalie says because Bobby feels guilty seeing his brother doing his time. Well, and I also had to count in here I counted how many times Bobby's wife went. So Kendra went 17 times, because I was just curious if she had gone more times than Bobby did. But Bobby went 21 times and she went 17. I did not count Blaine's wife. Blaine's wife, Courtney, is on there a few times. It's just a handful. It's got to be even less than anybody else. And I'm not gonna count up the kids when the kids go. And the kids don't matter. They don't take up a slot on a visitor's list. So kids aren't important when it comes to the visitors list. Natalie says, which person? I missed the start of the stream. And somebody answering. Jennifer said, I had a friend in prison and I drove 1.5 hours every weekend. Well, before the virus and the girls were put on lockdown, I visit Melissa and Marnie every other weekend. Or not every other weekend. Every other week. Every other Wednesday. And it's a 2.5 hour drive for me. So I go a minimum of twice a month. So, and I'm not blood related. I'm just an advocate and a supporter. Andrea says, I have never seen you ask for money, but plenty of us has asked you if we could send you some money to help. People are just miserable and want to stir up trouble. Yeah. because I've said this before. If I wanted to make money off Stephen Avery project, I could. I sound like a douchebag when I say it, but we are the biggest supporter page for Stephen. We've got 211,000 followers. You don't see me put anything on there looking for I don't put on there looking for money when I would go to visit him. That went here in Gossip. Now in Gossip we have, what is it, 12,000 people. But I didn't put on there going, I'm going, you want to give me money? It's when people had asked. And I always felt uncomfortable doing it because I know that's what they're going to use against me. And try and say, look, I'm making money off of Steven. Absolutely not. Not happening. Dano loves Steven. Claire says, it's plainly obvious that the family only started to back Stephen and Brendan after Making a Murderer 1 and 2, and the cash started to roll in from supports and fans. That family constantly have their hands out in the name of Stephen and Brendan. Carla is the biggest manipulator of them all. She couldn't give two shits about either of them, in my opinion. It's all about the money, 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 and how much sympathy can be gained to cover her greedy tracks. Well, and I posted the link the other day, but there's In Touch Weekly had an article a few years ago. And so they had Stephen's visitors log from 2014 to 2016. And so you see on there that Carla, at least in those years, did not visit Stephen until Christmas Eve, right after Making a Murderer had come out. So the couple, the week or so since Making a Murderer, and it was this big thing, now she goes and visits Stephen. But she didn't the 2 years prior. So, and you can also look at that list and see he was only getting visits from Barb, his mom, his dad, and Sandra the Snake. So you can't try and say, oh, his visitors list was just all full, like she's trying to do with the Brendan excuse. Nope. Doesn't wash. And then the woman who messaged me, she's like, if she only came around from Making a Murderer, why was she on camera? Or why was she in Making a Murderer? Because she came around when cameras were around. So, and why is her best friend Gilters? That's the thing that, the person who was attacking me yesterday and messaging me, and she's like, I'm friends with both Gilters and supporters. Okay, you're awesome. I'm sorry, I'm not going to have anything to do with Gilters. You're an idiot. Stephen is innocent. Brendan is innocent. I have no need to talk to Gilters. Oh, they're entitled to their opinion. Sure they are. But I don't need anything to do with them. Natalie says, I'm from the UK, and with Brendan's learning disability and family issues, he should have an independent advocate to advise him and tell him the truth and support his best interests. Not Barb, similar to a social worker, but just someone fighting his corner who is unbiased. Does he have this? If he was to be released, yes, he would. Does he now? No. Barb has complete control. So, but it would also depend on how Brendan is released. Yeah, I worry for Brendan. Especially if Barb is still with Scott Toddock. Scott hates Brendan. Brendan's a threat to him. He does not want Brendan living under his roof. So, what'll happen there? Tara, Red Lobster cards. I always forget about that, and you guys bring me back on. And I know the whole thing was dying down a little bit, so I'm kind of like stirring it back up. But this is when I had the free moment that I'll pop on here, and if anybody wanted to ask anything or say anything, because like I said, we have had an influx of new people since I posted that, and they're only here to spy. And so if you want to fire at me right now. Jocelyn says, I'm pretty sure Carla is now an admin of one of the Guilter discussion pages. Yeah. Yeah. That's a whole nother drama, gossip, whatever you want to call it. I don't get it at all. I I'm sorry. It's if I know my family member is innocent, I am not going to have anything to do with anybody who says that they're guilty. Now, if it's somebody who just says they don't like Steven as a person, that I get. I mean, when we used to listen to those jail calls, that only further showed that Steven's not a good guy. And he treated his family poorly. But that's also the chicken and the egg. Who treated who like shit first? His family treating Steven? Steven, so don't know. But I get it if people say they don't like Steven. I don't like Steven. But I believe in his innocence, and nobody's going to stop me from supporting his innocence. He didn't do this crime, and he should not be in prison. So, and that was something that the person messaging me yesterday had said, that she doesn't understand how I could be a supporter if I would say, she was twisting my words even in the same conversation we were having. Because she says, you said they're all liars. No, I said they'll have Brendan lie, and I've seen them do it before. So I'm sorry, a letter from Brendan saying such and such when he is literally just writing what his mom told him to write. I mean, we've seen him do that before with Michael O'Kelly, right? And who shot her in the head? He's very impressionable. He will say what he is told to say. So that doesn't mean I don't support 100% Brendan's innocence. He's innocent of that crime. And I don't blame Brendan for, because like she told me, or no, Carla's post that she made about me the other day was that Steven and Brendan hate me, or whatever it was she said. I get it. Because they're being fed lies about me by his family members, by their family members, and then by their supporters. And by this woman saying, I sent him a screenshot showing that you're asking money in Steven's name. It's not true. And she's like, I'll show you the screenshot. And I'm like, I know the screenshot. I know the post you're talking about. It's going to be when I said, if you wanted to, here's where you can do it. But she's cutting out the part that people had asked me. Dumb. Let me scroll back up. Natalie said, thanks, Jack. So sad. See, even some prisoners here would still get an advocate if there were learning disabilities and family issues. I wish. Brendan is so taken advantage of. Sabra says, let the witch hunter spy away. Yeah, I know. That's I don't go in other groups. I don't go spy. I mean, I don't have a need to. If something is really important, somebody just sends it my way. But I have no interest in being in any of those other groups because they're bullshit. I also don't fault, any of you all in any of the other groups. Go for it. I don't care what groups you're in. But if it gets reported back that you're in this group just to take screenshots and then go post it like you're a guilter and then you're going to make fun, well, then we're going to remove you. Then you're not going to be here. But all the silent spies, I know Carla's got a million of them. She's quite proud of her people. She has an admin whose job it is to never post on Facebook so they can go around and be the silent spy in all the groups and report stuff back. So dumb. I really don't care. I have a life outside of the Avery case. And so I'm not going to sit on Facebook 24/7 and going in a million different groups. Sorry. Don't mean, well, I don't mean to offend any of you guys here. Any of Carla and her angels. Yeah. Dano says, how the hell can Carla say she is friends with Chad and those assholes saying he's guilty? Because Carla loves the attention and wants to be popular. She's um, um, never been liked, never really had friends her whole life. And um, then she had her husband pay for a boob job, and she cheated on her husband and left her husband and her kids and went out of state to move in with her boyfriend. And then once Making a Murderer happened, woo, now she gets to be Queen Bee, and have all her little followers. She's loving it. So she doesn't care if people think they're guilty or not. All that matters to her is they'll be her friends. Trisha says, is Tracy one of Steve's girlfriend's prison girlfriends? I got removed from a lot of their groups somehow. Recently, I've noticed I'm still on 2. I will be booted once they notice, I'm sure, or when one of their spies screenshot this, but I don't care. I always wonder how she fits in this and the family and getting butthurt over a lot of crap. Which Tracy? There's Tracy, who I've never gone to law school, but I'm going to pretend I'm a lawyer. And then everything I want to say legally is to talk about what an awful lawyer Kathleen Zellner is. That Tracy? Or the Tracy that runs Brendan's group, and in order to get herself to top dog in Brendan's group, she had to sell out the girl who was the top dog. All because these people want to be top of the heap. Both Tracys are bad. And using this case for their own personal gains for whatever reason that is. The basically I'm a fake lawyer chick. When I used to talk to Steven, he told me nobody told him more shit about me than her. Even Carla. Tracy just couldn't stop talking about me. And the first time Steven didn't talk to me, it was due to the lies that Tracy told him. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, he had reached out to me. He calls me and he's like, well, hello, stranger. Bet you surprised to hear from me. So completely out of the blue, all of a sudden, Steven calls me. And then I talked to Steven for a little bit. He puts me on his visitors list, which I'd never been on before. I know they had reported that he had removed me off his list. I had never been on his list because I'm not somebody who's clamoring for all of that. I have always said to people, if you want me to come visit you, I'll come visit you. I'm not going to take up a slot. And so Steven put me on the list. And then it became this big, huge drama where Carla and Tracy and all of them said they are no longer supporting Steven because he's talking to me, and they'll only support Brendan. Again, wonderful supporters, right? Because I don't fault Steven or Brendan for the horrible people they talk to. Who they want to talk to is their business. Just like anytime Steven dates somebody, everybody's always got to get into his business. I don't care. It's not my business. I don't care. Steven can fake date whoever he wants. And it's actually the thing that I said to Steven the very first time he called me. I'm not looking to date you. Because I know there's so many girls that are for whatever reason. And it's like, that's not me. I'm a supporter. I'm an advocate. What can I do to help you? That's it. I've got no dreams, of, oh, we're going to end up together. No, thank you. So what they do is they will look at who are the members of MAM Gossip, and if you are in their group, they will remove you. That's just something they've done for years now. If you are a member of any group that I run, unless you're their spy and reporting back to them, they will remove you because they want to make sure you're not bringing it to me, which who cares? It's so dumb. Tara says it sounds like an episode of Wentworth. That's why I always use Top Dog. That's where, yeah, so absolutely, it's Wentworth. Top Dog. Yep. No worries for being late, Jen. I didn't say I was going live. It was one of those, what am I going to do? Am I going to go for a walk, take my dogs for a walk, go read a book? Oh, I'll pop on live for a little bit since there's been some drama and see if anybody has anything they want to discuss on that. So that's why I'm here. Um, What else? What else can we chat about? I already talked about Kent's birthday is today, which I actually should email him a happy birthday. I talked to him the other day, but I should email him a happy birthday. Melissa, I don't know the date. Melissa Kaluzinski, the Dr. Oz show is going to be doing another episode on Melissa's case, and this time Melissa is on the episode. They had somebody from, not Dr. Oz, but somebody from the Dr. Oz show went to the prison. This was before the virus, and talked with Melissa. So that's supposed to be airing soon, but I don't think a date has been said yet. Not sure. So that's what's going on in Melissa's case. Nadine said, whatever happened to that Jody chick? Is she still in the picture? Oh, the girl that from Making a Murderer 1? Yeah, Jody, is she still in jail? You know, she's a drunk, and I don't understand why she's constantly in jail for being a drunk. Because then you're letting her out way too soon, or what? I don't know. I don't know what you do, because her being a drunk and she, in driving a car, she's gonna kill somebody. So how many chances does she get? So, and there's Dano saying she's locked up at present. Yeah, I believe she's still in jail from the latest drunk driving thing, but she's been on the guilter side for a while now because that's what gets her attention, I guess. I don't know. Her and Steven got into fights or whatever, and it's a rough breakup or not, I don't even know. But so as I was saying before, maybe she doesn't like him. Get it, but that doesn't mean he's guilty. So I totally have a problem with somebody just because you don't like Steven saying he's guilty. Dano says, Jax, where can I read more about Kent's defense from KZ, his side? Well, his lawyer, he has Kathleen Zellner and Associates. It's Kathleen's associate, Doug Johnson, who is Kent's attorney. And I don't believe she even covers Kent's case. I don't think so. Like, if you go to her website and then she's got where you can click on all her different cases, I don't believe Kent is even listed on there. So really the only place you can find stuff is if you go to his Facebook page, the Justice for Kent. It's a number 4, and you can go into pictures and files in there. There will be the different filings and such on Kent's case in there. You can also Google his name, but everything that's out there, is saying that he's guilty. And Kent's case, isn't a famous case. It's not a murder case. He's in prison for his wife, now ex-wife, accused him of raping her. So he's in prison for raping his wife. and it's a total crock of shit. Um, um, she's a known drunk, um, like a Jody. You know that there's many legal reports showing that she's drunk a lot. She was drunk that night after a party. They had sex. She has a medical condition, which is it endometriosis? Um, but she bleeds a lot. Um, and so they had sex. She bled. Um, and when she wakes up in a drunken haze, the next she says she doesn't know what happened, but he raped her, and that's what he's in prison for. Um, he's been in for, I think, August this year will be 5 years that he's been in, and he has 2 years to go on his sentence. So that's why it's not you don't really hear about the case because, murder cases are the ones that get all the publicity. His is, a rape case, but um it's another injustice. It's another wrongful conviction. Um it doesn't have to be a murder with a life sentence to still be wrong, and they should be freed. So Kent is a really good guy. So, but yeah, so you can go to Justice for Kent. Um, Jeff is saying, does a photon have an atomic weight or mass? Shut up, Jeff. Dano says, yeah, I read the trial transcripts and part of the appeals, and it didn't sound too good, to be honest, and I wanted backstory, so thank you for that. I gotta be honest, it sounded bad. Yeah. But that's what law enforcement, state, whatever you want to say, can do. Stephen's case, Marnie's case, Melissa's case. I mean, there's so many of them. And what gets put out there looks bad. And so you got to look behind the mask, you know? Um, Natalie says, yes, it will probably be endometriosis or adenomyosis. I have both, so understand the symptoms. Sorry for my butchering that last one there, Natalie. So yeah, it's a really sad story for Kent. And Kent, one of the prisons he was in, while he was sleeping, a gang beat the crap out of him. And so he's lost a lot of sight in one of his eyes due to that beating. Because you're just not kept safe. He's in a better prison now. So he doesn't have those worries. So that's been good for him. Um, and he's talked about, he's working out like crazy. And he says he's like in better shape than, when he played football in high school. But now during this virus, he's not able to work out like he was. So that's driving him crazy. Dano says, I think it was a mistake to have a bench trial and not a jury. Yeah, there's always that. You never know. You don't know, and you learn the hard way. So, I'm shocked because I've attended a couple of Kent's hearings, and just when it gets all laid out there, it's like, how can anybody ever not see his innocence? But I don't know. Um, Debbie, yes, no, maybe. Hi, Debbie. Yeah, I'm just gonna ignore the nerd question trying to confuse me. That I'm not smart. Um, I don't even know what those words mean. um, on the Marnie Yang case, Wait, here's Christopher saying if they are unable to overturn Ken's conviction while he is incarcerated, will he still try to clear his name when he is released? Just wants to be heard. And thank you for using that hashtag because that's something that Kent has always said to me that his side's not out there. And he's like, I just want to be heard, Jax. I just want to be heard. He says that so many times. I just want to be heard. He's actually written uh, um, manuscript that maybe eventually will come out because he's somebody, Kent had a really good job. He was living a, you would say, white collar life. Not in trouble so for something like this to happen to him was just like so foreign. And so he wants to help others. Of you don't know anything about the legal process or any of this stuff. So he absolutely will always fight to clear his name, and then he's always going to fight for others. But that seems to be the norm for most people that I come across that are wrongfully convicted. That now you've got Stephen and Brendan, who upon their release, they're just going to go right off into the sunset, which I get. I get that too. I'm not faulting them for this at all. But then there's others like Marnie and Kent who they want to hit the ground running when they get out and help other people. So, and I find that so admirable because I totally wouldn't blame them to ride off into the sunset. Your life has been stolen from you. You can never get those years back. So, I want nothing more for Stephen to be able to go off, find himself, a place in the woods by water to live and, be with his mom and find a woman to love who genuinely loves him, not Stephen Avery. And he can fish and garden and work on cars and never have to think about, the legal system again. But Kent wants to help other people. Marnie wants to help other people. Tammy, who founded the WMP Justice Review, she served 30 years. Nobody works more for other people than Tammy. So, Tammy's only been out going on 4 years. And look at all she's done in these years in fighting for, you guys hear a lot about Marnie because that's the big case we're working on right now. Oh my God, all the cases that Tammy works on that you'll never hear about. Tammy has so many inmates that reach out to her both by phone and by email that she's helping them just with advice and everything. And so, Tammy lost 30 years of her life. She should go right off into the sunset, but she's not. She's fighting every day for other people that have been either wrongfully convicted, or she also takes on cold cases. Natalie says, see the Marnie thing. Can you go into a few details on why you and others think she's innocent? I'm in the UK, so could only watch half of the 2020 program on YouTube, and everything else I've seen on it makes her look guilty as sin. What's the... I had to hit more and I'm trying to find where I was. What's the top 5 pieces of evidence which are for her innocence, etc.? Let me roll up my sleeves here. Okay. We're going to fall down this rabbit hole right now. Sorry for people who only care about Stephen Avery and you don't want to hear about any other cases. But I am very passionate on Marnie Yang's innocence. So here we go. The number one thing I would say that people believe in her guilt, I'm going to go over it that way, on why people think she's guilty and how I can explain it away. So the number one thing will be the taped confession when she was talking to her friend Christy Passion in Denny's. The thing you have to understand is that they had been after Marnie and her son, her 16-year-old son, for a year, over a year. Her friend Christy is a weirdo who thinks she's part of the CIA, blah, blah, blah. I don't even, whatever. Christy had been taken by the police for 3 days, put in a hotel. She was interrogated and threatened. She was threatened that she would be prosecuted for this crime unless she helped them get Marnie. So there are recorded conversations where Christy Passion has told Marnie that she had been interrogated by the police and they said they were filing an indictment for Andrew Yang, Marnie's 16-year-old son. There's recorded conversations of Marnie talking to her parents, each individually, telling them that she was going to make shit up so they would focus on her and not Andrew, where her father told her don't do that. When you have the Denny's, you hear Christy Passion go to the bathroom and then say to her microphone, "We've got a problem, folks. The wire dropped, and I don't know if she saw it." And Marnie did see it. So Marnie then, during this conversation with Christy Passion, was making shit up. And it's even on the recording, and we have it on WMP Justice Review at one point when she says she's making it up. And then when you take the things that Marnie says in that alleged confession and compare it to the crime scene, none of it matches. Marnie was literally making it up. Now, in the times that Marnie had been interrogated, when you get interrogated, they put pictures all in front of you. Remember, all the Making a Murderer people, Brendan Dassey, when they have him, and there's pictures, like pictures of the blue bows at around the trees and at Teresa's church, that Michael O'Kelly actually put those up himself and took a picture of to manipulate Brendan with. That's standard protocol. They put these pictures out for you. So Marnie has seen crime photos. She has heard press. So she just said things from what she had seen in pictures and whatnot. And in an interrogation of her son, they had dropped a big bucket of concrete in front of them and said, "We know your mom got rid of the murder weapon in a bucket of concrete." So now, these, however long later it was, when she's giving this alleged confession to Christy Passion on the wire, she said the gun was gotten rid of in a bucket of concrete. She's just parroting, just like Brendan, who shot her in the head. It is the same thing. Just because Marnie wasn't sitting in an interrogation room and telling these things to investigators does not mean it wasn't a false confession. She was making shit up. She thought when she tried to leave that Denny's, she was going to be taken into custody. She knew she was wired, so she knew there were going to be cops around. She knew she was saying this stuff. She fully expected to be arrested when she was walking out of that Denny's. And she believed in our judicial process and our legal system, and she knows she's innocent. So my lawyer will fix this. So that's number one, to prove her innocence, okay? And why people think she's guilty. Number two, the gun. There's so many fucking things on this gun. So Marnie had a 9mm. That is, 9mm is what was used in this murder, which is a common gun. Her gun was stolen 5 months prior to the murder. It was stolen by a friend of her kids. Marnie didn't have insurance. She felt the only reason you would report it to the police is for insurance purposes. She didn't want the kid in trouble, so she didn't report the gun stolen. Okay, so that's first of all. She did not She did not have a gun. The boy who stole the gun, the justice is on record that he stole the gun. So that's fact. Kid stole the gun. He had a drug debt, and gun is gone, and it's never going to be found again. So that's first of all. Second of all, on the gun, the silencer. They're claiming because they would regularly go through her trash on garbage night, they found a receipt for 2 books she had ordered online on how to build a silencer. Marnie has dated a Chicago cop who is still a family friend, and so it was a gag gift for him, these silencer books. If you look at these silencer books, what they're claiming she used as a silencer or a suppressor, as it would really be, because you can't silence a gun. There's always going to be a noise. You suppress it a little bit. That's all. Where was I? Silencer. Okay, so they go through her garbage, they get the receipt, they find these books, and then they've also found a receipt for some things that she had bought at Home Depot. PVC pipe, clamps, that kind of stuff. And from that, they go, she made a silencer with this. There's been gun experts. Nobody can make a silencer out of PVC pipe that can fit on this gun. And I know on 2020, they were also trying to claim she was then holding the pipe up to it. That's physically not possible. They're claiming the gun jammed because she put the pipe over it. That's also not possible. These are all things they're doing to try and make their pieces fit. They're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. All right. So, and there is actual proof that PVC pipe she bought is underneath her bathroom sink. She had a sink problem, and this was to fix her sink. That's what the PVC was for. If you were to fire a gun through a PVC pipe, you would have pieces of PVC. Nothing is found at the crime scene. All right. So, then, when you look at the shirt that the victim was wearing, there's burn on her shirt, a burn pattern on her shirt, which is showing what the first shot was, first of all. Also, the way the burning is tells you no suppressor, silencer, PVC pipe was used. So again, they're just trying, since Marnie Yang had bought a book on silencers, they have to make the pieces fit to say, see, she used a silencer in committing this crime. No silencer was used. You can see the burning on the shirt. No silencer was used. Next, the trajectory. I have gone over this a bunch of times. This was the biggest thing for me that really pisses me off. The victim was 5'9". Marnie is 5 foot tall. The first shot fired at Ronnie Ryder went into her chest in a downward and came out her arm here. Downward. There is no way a 5 foot woman can shoot somebody 5'9" here in a downward. And let me again pull out my visual aid. Here is Marnie and I. Okay. I'm 5'7". So Ronnie Ryder is even 2 inches taller than me. So do you think Marnie can shoot me here, and come down here? It's not physically possible. Not possible. There is no way that Marnie Yang could have fired that first shot. And the science proves that was the first shot. Law enforcement finding somebody in Lake County to claim it's not the first shot and all this. There are so many cases where you can see how Lake County has doctored evidence to try and fit their narrative. So now I've done away with the gun. All right. So gun's not possible. She didn't have a gun. She couldn't have done that shot. No silencer was used. The science proves that. What would be the next thing? The rental car. Marnie rented a car for a photo shoot. She was scammed on this photo shoot. This was a guy who had an ad in the paper. Marnie's an aspiring fitness model. This guy wanted her to rent a car for this photo shoot. She rented a car, and then she told him the car, and he's like, that's blue. I want a black car. She had to exchange it for a black car. Marnie lived in Chicago. The photo shoot was going to be in a forest preserve out in the suburbs. Christy Passion lived by that forest preserve. So the rental car was delivered to Christy Passions. The photographer is who returned that rental car. So on the day of this murder, Marnie didn't even have the rental car. Where was Marnie? She was home because her car actually wasn't running. She was supposed to go to Christy Passion's house the night before, and she had trouble with her car. And she had notified her work that she might not be in the next day because she's having car trouble. And then, so the next day, the same cop that she bought the gun, the silencer for, was going to stop over. He said she needed a new battery. For her to pull the old battery out, he would just stop over real quick, put the new battery in, and go. So Marnie was home at the time of the crime. Her son was homesick. He knows she was home. Marnie had been on her landline with a collection agency. There's proof of that phone call. So Marnie was home. The state then, getting their square pegs to fit in that round hole, they're like, oh, we're going to get this video from a nearby gas station by Ronnie Ryder's house around the time of the crime. And, oh, look, there's a little black car. That's the car that Marnie rented. Nope. And people just take it as fact because law enforcement says it, doesn't even look into it. The WMP Justice Review rented a black Volkswagen Rabbit. It's not the exact car that Marnie had rented, but it is the exact model, year, model, color. And they used similar recording equipment and filmed a car going through that intersection. And when you put the two side by side, it is clearly not the rental car. So, rental car, the whole car thing, that's done. Christina is telling me, don't forget the dumb bracelet. Yeah, so there is this really ugly bracelet that they're claiming was Ronnie Ryder's. So it has fake pearls that goes all the way around it, and it was a medic alert bracelet that said pregnant. All right. Ronnie Ryder worked at Macy's and lived in an affluent community. And this bracelet cost $6. I believe it was $6. I'm bad on numbers. $6, $16, something. It's a really cheap, ugly, stupid bracelet. She's not going to wear this bracelet on many levels. For one, it's ugly and gross, and she's not going to wear it. For two, Sean Gale had forced her to have 2 prior abortions because he never wanted children. And so when she got pregnant this time, she hid it from him so he couldn't make her abort it. And no woman is wearing a medic alert bracelet in her 7th or 8th month, whatever she was, saying pregnant. There's no need for it. It's not saying like, I'm a diabetic, because you can see you're pregnant, and now if something's to happen to me, I'm pregnant and I'm a diabetic. You don't wear a medic alert bracelet saying I'm pregnant. No woman does that. I'm sorry. You just don't. No family or friend has ever seen this bracelet. This bracelet did not have any of Marnie's DNA on it or Ronnie's DNA on it. How is Marnie going to get this bracelet? The state is claiming she never took it off. And so this whole crime occurred in a matter of 4 minutes. And Ronnie is laying face down in a pool of blood. So how is Marnie going to get this bracelet with a clasp off of her and around the blood and you don't blah blah. No. And then Christy Passion had told the police that she had gone with Marnie while Marnie was getting rid um of stuff from the crime, which then makes no sense either on why would you take the bracelet to begin with, because if you're going to be like a killer that needs a souvenir of your crime, if that's what that bracelet was to be for, then why is she getting rid of it? But so the place that Christy Passion she said that Marnie got rid of a empty gun clip at such and such location. And so then when Lake County Major Crimes Task Force goes to this area, they find this bracelet that's never been mentioned ever. So, sounds a whole lot like a magic key or a magic bullet that now this alleged bracelet of Ronnie's that was buried in the ground is on top of the ground, is not dirty, is not weathered by going through 2 years in Chicago weather. So you find this in a spot that you're being told that an empty gun clip was buried, and now you're saying this bracelet was Ronnie Ryder's. No. So that's the bracelet gone. The next thing would be she was a jealous girlfriend wanting to get rid of the pregnant one. That Sean Gale had 18 girlfriends at that time. Everybody knew that Sean did not want children. So if you knew one of the girls were knocked up, you're like, hey, that girl's out of the running now. But Marnie didn't want to be top dog. Marnie wanted to be just business with Sean. And Sean would make it sexual. And Marnie would try not to. And she would cave. And when I've talked to her about it, she's like, I had low self-esteem. So she was just taken advantage of by Sean Gale. You all might not agree, but I think he's a very good-looking guy. And they say he, charming. And here, especially Chicago area, he's famous. You could be in awe of this famous dude wants to have sex with you. I don't know. So she doesn't need to be number one. First of all, she does business with him. He needs her to make money. So her relationship with Sean was never going to go away. And she could care less if he's got kids or whatever. And so now this letter went out to all these 18 girls that had been dating Sean. Now, one of the women were already prosecuted as the person who sent that letter. And it wasn't that letter. It was a whole packet. It was like the freaking Brendan's visitor log. People received a whole packet, this size, a big envelope would come because it had emails and pictures and all this stuff that went out to all the women because one of them was spurned and wanted to try and cause trouble for Sean. And the one woman, Monica, was the one that was prosecuted for it. And Sean Gale had a restraining order against her because she had done a couple of crazy things and so on. And so the letter that Ronnie's, because letters got sent to her mother and her brother as well. And one of those letters said, because each girl was getting a letter that then spotlighted a different girl. And so this letter was talking about Marnie and said Marnie had a child by Sean Gale. And then enclosed in there was a picture of Marnie on her motorcycle because she rode bikes. And she was holding a friend's child on the motorcycle, and the child was half black. So somebody jumped to the conclusion that was Marnie's child with Sean Gale. So Ronnie actually had been stalking Marnie's house wanting to see who Marnie was and the kid that was Sean's, and I don't blame Ronnie for that. You're now having this man's child, so it would be natural to want to see if he had another child, what that child looked like. So, then the police, when they trashed Marnie's house, they had taken labels out of her house. And then later, once those labels are in police custody, magically what appears on them is all the girls' addresses to make it look like these address labels for these letters were all in Marnie's house. But then when you look at the envelopes that the women got and the address labels and the font on those labels, it's not the same. Oh, I think those are the biggies. And you guys don't have to trust me. But, I'm not going to advocate for somebody that there's any chance that they're guilty. If I found out that she was guilty, I would totally say, oh my God, she's guilty, and I would be off of it. She's innocent. So innocent. Let me scroll back to what I've missed of your stuff while I was yammering on. Hi, Carrie. Shelly says, do they have tapes of Marnie and her kids being questioned? No, they don't. There are some of Marnie, but not of her kids. And there's Christina answering you on that. Christopher said, her being home at the time of the murder on the phone with a bill collector is another massive piece of evidence that supports her innocence. Yeah. Debbie says, the more I am watching shows and articles on Marnie Yang, I firmly believe Sean Gale paid someone to kill Ronnie because he didn't want anything at all to do with her being pregnant. I agree, Debbie. That's just where all the evidence points to me. Just like in Stephen's case, all the evidence points to Bobby and or Scott. I'm following the evidence. It's not gut. It's not what I want. It's not what makes the better story. It's what the evidence points to. And there were several witnesses in Marnie's case that saw a black male. So how is Marnie a black male? And I know they changed it to she was wearing an afro wig and put on black makeup. Oh my God. Whatever. So to me, the evidence points to Sean Gale hired somebody to do this hit. And he leaves the country. He comes back, but he leaves the country. He leaves the state where he's deemed a sports hero. $16. Thank you, Christy. Tina says Gail needs to step up. Yeah, he won't talk to anybody. Christy says, let's talk about Sean's alibi. Oh, wait, he doesn't have one. Yeah, so there's this weird thing about Sean that he was at this barber shop, blah, blah, blah. I firmly believe this barber shop is where he hired the person to do the hit. That's what I think. Natalie says, playing devil's advocate because I'm not on the innocent side for Marnie yet. 1, confession. I'm not buying it was guesswork. I understand people do give false confessions, but I haven't heard of many false confessions. But I haven't heard of many false confessions given to people who are not law enforcement. Sorry, I had to click to read more. Open to interpretation, I suppose. Well, hopefully, I don't know if you sent that while I was already going on my long thing. to explain all that. That, yeah, it wasn't given to law enforcement, but it was. She knew law enforcement was there listening. She expected them to arrest her as soon as she tried to leave that Denny's. She knew, she had been told, that they were about to file an indictment for her son. So while she wasn't sitting in an interrogation room when she did this, to her, it was basically the same thing. Law enforcement was having Christy Passion try and get stuff out of her while wearing a wire, and they were going to take her into custody. 2, the car I can buy. I'll give you that one. LOL. 3, the medical bracelet is pure conjecture. You can't just say because someone has money, they wouldn't wear it, etc. Was Sean or her family not asked if it was hers? Correct. Everybody has said it was not her bracelet. Nobody's ever seen this bracelet before. 4, the gun. I don't know. You make a good point about no pieces of the silencer being found, but it's very coincidental that she purchased not only the books, but the materials to make one. No, 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 no. The book does not have those materials in it. This is, again, them just trying to make the pieces fit. Because she had a book on how to make a silencer, they have to come up with a way to make this part of the crime. So now they're going to say, oops, look, she's got this receipt for PVC pipe for a sink. We're going to say she made a silencer out of that. The book doesn't tell you to make a silencer out of PVC pipe and instructions to do that. So no. 5, the trajectory of the bullet. I'll give you what the size, height difference, etc. is open to doubt. But how is it worked out which shot was fired first? You need to listen to the experts on that. I can't recall exactly how they tell you, but it's all right there that you can tell which one is which, because also by the way the bullet's going through, you can tell where the body is at that point, all that. The experts have that. I don't. I am not smart. I'm not a trajectory or ballistics expert, but I know that evidence is there. Natalie says, who are the other suspects, Sean or the Polish chick? Well, Sean, yes. Sean hiring it to be done, yes. The Polish chick, yes. I mean, so none of those can be ruled out at this time. The only ones that can are Marnie and Andrew. Melissa says, what is next for Marnie for a bid to get out? Well, her clemency petition had been filed. So that's just waiting for the governor to yay or nay if he will give her clemency. And then, geez, was her court date supposed to be today? Was it the 20th? Today might have been a date for Marnie, but I'm not sure, if it was going to be pushed back, because of the virus and all that kind of stuff. So we're trying to get an evidentiary hearing. So that's what we're looking for. But chances are nothing's going to get into court. Well, they're starting to do more court thing like online. So I don't know, but that's what we're waiting for, Melissa. We're trying to, what we would really like is for people to go, yep, all this evidence isn't real, and let her go. That's what you want to be next, but it's waiting for the evidentiary hearing, to be able to show them all, bring all this new evidence into court that and another thing on the gun is that it misfired every other round. So that's the other thing that Marnie, the 5-foot girl with, where's her hand? I just moved my computer up to this room. But, she's got these itty bitty hands. And so every other shot, now you had to clear it and eject the round to fire again because it was jamming. And so there were 5 live rounds on the ground that have male DNA on them they've never checked the DNA for that because they just know it's not Marnie, so they don't care. So you got that. There's a fingerprint on the door that they know is not Marnie or Ronnie, so let's not look at it. Blah, blah, blah. Natalie says, I'm still not on the innocent side. Sorry, Jax, but thank you for taking the time to answer my questions, etc. I guess I'll need to look into more, but so frustrating. I can't watch the end of the 2020 documentary, and most other programs on it make her look guilty. I'm just not there yet, Jax. And I totally understand. And that's one of the things that's so upsetting about 2020 is that they were given such a brilliant gift of how all this evidence really breaks down. That the Justice Review team spent days, hours upon hours, showing them actual evidence. They were given access to Marnie Yang that nobody's been given. And that 2020 episode just aired. The episode they did years ago. It wasn't new. It was old, repackaged like it was new. And at the very end, now, because somebody timed this, there was only 9 minutes of new stuff with Marnie and her team. 9 minutes out of a 2-hour show. That's it. So there is somebody who does want to film something to tell the real story. So we hope that comes to fruition because just like Kent, who says just wants to be heard, that's what we have with Marnie as well. You know, really, just really sad that everything out there is so wrong. Natalie says, you left the DNA till late, Jax, LOL. Now that could sway me. Yeah, so the rounds, the 5 live rounds from the misfires that were left on the ground there have male DNA on them. So apparently Marnie's able to load her gun and pull out misfires and nothing of her goes on there. So, and there's a fingerprint on the door handle. But since it's not Marnie or Ronnie, we're not going to run it through APHIS. Because again, it's not fitting our narrative, so we're not going to look any further. We just have to make these square pieces go into this round hole. Oh my God, I've been on for 1 hour and 22 minutes now. And I probably lost a lot of you because I get so many people who don't want to hear about Marnie. They only want to hear about Steven. But sorry, you know, the thing I always say on that is there's nothing happening in Steven's case currently, but there is in Marnie's. So that's why, I would talk about Marnie's case. I can tell you that we were doing the lives on Marnie's case on the WMP Justice Review. We're on both Mondays and Friday nights. We are done right now with the Marnie series. If you haven't seen any of them, you can go to the WMP Justice Review Facebook page, and then it is also available on WMP TV network on both YouTube and Roku. We've had experts on there that explain everything on there, so you can watch those episodes. And we're taking a little break while we are doing research right now, while Christy is doing research, because we've brought Christy on and Christy's also been added as a moderator here. Christy has been brought on to the WMP Justice Review team as one of our researchers. And so we're going to be doing live videos on Sundays at 6 p.m. Central Time. So it's 3 p.m. here now. So 3 hours from now on Sundays starting June 6th, I believe it is. I don't know. Again, number. Where we're going to go into all the wrongful convictions and corruption in Lake County, Illinois, where both Melissa and Marnie's cases are from, to show you what this, like Manitowoc Sheriff's Department in the multiple cases there, we're going to be showing you the multiple cases that happened in Lake County, Illinois. There's Lake County, Illinois is known as the wrongful conviction capital. And so we will be going over in order by when these cases happened, people who have served a whole bunch of time and have been released. We're going to go into corruption because we have somebody from Lake County, officer, who killed himself but made it look like he was killed by a black man on the job so his wife could still profit off of his death for being killed in the line of duty. And the two of them had been stealing money from a police group that they were running. So that's a crazy case. So it should be very interesting. My co-host from that, Dominic Izzo, was a police officer in the area, and he knows the corrupt players. So, and Dominic has been involved in both Marnie and Melissa's cases. I don't know if he's been involved in any of the others, but he'll know of them. So right now, research is getting pulled, and I'm going to have to do research too. And so we'll be doing that and going over all those cases. And some of them were famous and pretty major that came out of Lake County, like Juan Rivera and Jerry Hobbs. So that's what we'll be focusing next on the Justice Review. And we'll also, if anything happens in Marnie's case, we'll pop up and do lives as need be. Tina says, oh, well. And Jocelyn says, love hearing about the other cases. Hope the ladies are hanging in with the virus. I email with Melissa quite regularly. So she's working. Something Melissa has talked about. So she and Marnie know of each other. Both of their cases are from Lake County. They had both been in the Lake County jail, and now they're both at that prison, but they're in different places and they don't really interact. But both know that I visit the other, especially, I'm there and I visit the one and then I switch and visit the other, and so they'll know about each other's cases and such. And so Melissa told me after the 2020 aired and how horrible women were being towards Marnie in there after seeing it, and how much that pisses Melissa off, because she's like, you would think everybody would just feel like, we're all in here, so we all know what it's like, and that we should all be supportive of one another, so while she doesn't really know Marnie, she wishes the best for her. And same thing for Marnie with Melissa, and so it really bothers Melissa that you've got women who are just wishing harm on Marnie. And something that Melissa had asked me is that a rumor that was going around in the prison is that Marnie was going to be released on July 5th. Is that true? I was like, no, that's not true. I mean, would love for her to get released, but no, that's not true. And so that's a reason why girls in there are hating on her, because they think she's going to get out. And then also, because Melissa's had to deal with this before too, you get seen as, oh, you think you're something because you've been on TV, and they're going to come at you for that too. Never mind that what's been shown of you on TV is you're a baby killer, because Melissa's called a baby killer and Marnie's called a baby killer. So they both have that in common too. But at least Melissa has had 48 hours and Erin Moriarty cover her case, and then recently Dr. Oz, that's actually shown why Melissa is innocent. Marnie doesn't have that, other than Tammy in the WMP Justice Review group. Everything else out there is just really against her. But everything was against Melissa at one time. Everything was against Stephen at one time. Everything was against Brendan at one time. You just need somebody to take your side and fight for you. And that's what Tammy has done for Marnie. So, but it's still a long fight ahead, because 2020 honestly did a lot of damage. I've gotten death threats. The tip line that's on marnying.com gets death threats. Somebody has gone all over my YouTube channel and posts stuff all over there saying Marnie is guilty. So it stirred that all up, and gotten new people in thinking she's guilty. So all this work that Tammy has done for the last however many years, it feels like it's been wiped away. But just keep swimming, just keep swimming. You just got to keep going by the facts, and the facts show that all these people are innocent. So, all right. I've been on for an hour and a half. Is there any more questions? No, I'm down at the bottom. So I am going to end this now. I don't know when you'll see me next. Again, it'll be a pop-up unless we plan unless anything happens. And so then the only thing I would know offhand then is on the 29th, if a filing comes out, we will get that filing and get it posted and read through it together. Yeah, all right. Maybe I'm going to go outside and enjoy the sun. We've gotten so much rain here, and it's supposed to be no rain the next 2 days. And then it's going to rain all holiday weekend. Yay. So, all right. And I'll leave you again with always, if you have any question about me, fire away. Like the one person, when she had messaged me, can I ask you a question? I'm like, you can ask, but it depends on what they're going to say on how if I'm going to respond. If you come at me like an asshole, I'm going to treat you like an asshole. So, all right. Investigation continues. Stephen is innocent. Brendan is innocent. Kent is innocent. Marnie is innocent. Melissa is innocent. Have a good evening.